Hello team, this is János and this is my little audio channel Real World Audio, and I am going to really talk about my room, and this is part of me introducing my system, and the room is the foundation. It is absolutely vital, and the role it plays is just vast. Okay, so that being said, what did I do to my room? Is it a perfect room or what's going on? I can tell you guys it's very far from perfect, but I can also tell that I think I have gotten the most out of it that's humanly possible. And when I created this room, then my prime directive was to create a room that is welcoming, that is comfortable, and I designed it that if I want to listen to music for 1 week non-stop, then this room will serve that purpose. And of course, I really had that desire, because once I had a similar experience to listen to music in a non-stop fashion for an extended time. But that's another story for the books. So coming back to the room, this is a US home, typical of what a lot of homes are in here in the United States, and it's a double wall construction townhouse. So it means that the house has a wooden frame, and on the inside you see that there is a dry wall. So the inside is covered by a dry wall, and there is no insulation inside, because here we are in Hawaii. No one cares about insulation, because even the coldest that it gets is considered warm in other places of the world. So there is absolutely zero need for insulating. However, there is a lot of need, because insulation also means not just temperature insulation but soundproofing as well, and that is woefully inadequate here in the United States. In Europe, there's a lot of effort being paid or observed to have very good noise proofing, but in the United States, nada, zero, niente, zilch, nuku. So if you are an audiophile, if you want to listen to music to in a way that you can connect to music and truly hear what your system can do for you, then this is where you absolutely have to start. You have to fix your room. Otherwise, you can put any amount of money into your system, and it's just a sinkhole. It's never going to get good. You can spend $1 million in your system, and it will not sound as good as having a $10,000 system in a properly fixed room. I just can't iterate that enough. So what I did to fix this room, because it was just that what it was, a double wall construction without any attention whatsoever to soundproofing. So what I did, right after we moved in, and there was nothing in here, just the walls, we installed a triple soundproofing on the walls, which is a layer of mass loaded vinyl, and then a layer of green glue on top of that, and then a layer of quiet rock. So that's a triple system, and that's what they use in professional installations like theaters. So when you watch your movies and you are wondering that there are several rooms next to each other, and you can't hear anything that goes in the other room, then this is the installation they are using. And if you can hear something coming from the other room, then they cheaped out on it, and I just used part of it, not the triple system, maybe one or two elements out of it. And when you use this triple system, the mass loaded vinyl, the green glue, and the quiet rock, all of these dampen at different frequencies. And the total dampening effect is actually there are several grades of the quiet rock, and depending on which one you use, the noise proofing effect will be somewhere between 60 dB to 68 dB. So they will offer that much extra effect on top of what your room or your walls already have. And in my case, that is enough. That when I was listening to music that I considered very loud, about 95 dB or more, and I went over to the neighbors who live on the other side of that wall, and I rang their doorbell and I asked her like, how loud is the music, and they said, what music, we can't hear anything. And then I said, yes, this is awesome, it really works. So I really did test the system and it works. And why did I do that? So one of the things is why is that is so crucial. It's not just to protect the neighbors, and of course by protecting the neighbors, I also allow myself to listen to any volume at any time. I live in a very quiet neighborhood. There's no one making any noise after 9 p.m. And I really appreciate it when my neighbors are quiet, and I also do appreciate if they can get a good night's sleep. And that's the whole point of a happy living, that you can recover at night. And on top of that, what this does, what this soundproofing does, is it allows bass. It allows deep bass. Because all you hear on the internet is that if you have problems with the bass, you just get a bigger subwoofer, or maybe a swarm of subwoofers, or not enough, then EQ it, DSP it, whatnot. But guys, that will not fix the problem. We have to start at the root of the problem, which is soundproofing. Because you need proper soundproofing for the bass, for the long wavelength to form. If your room cannot support the low frequencies, they will dissipate and the energy disappear. And if you try to put back this energy by EQing up the bass, by bringing the level higher, because most of it will escape the room anyway, then you are just distorting the music, distorting the signal. And why? That's a story for another video, because it's an involving and complex subject. But for now, this has been my experience, that your room has to have proper soundproofing to get proper bass. If you don't have proper soundproofing, forget quality deep bass, and do not even dream about infrasonic bass, about below 20 hertz frequencies. If you want to experience what infrasound or subsonics can do, you absolutely must have a good soundproofing, and that includes the walls, and it also includes your doors and windows. So I also changed most of my windows here to double pane soundproofing, like double glass windows, instead of the jalousies, which are just absolute crap but are the standard here. I still have like right there on that side, that's the entire thing behind the curtains is glass, and I have the curtains to cover the glass and break up and prevent the hard reflections. but that's not double glass, so there the soundproofing is not perfect yet. But other parts of the room are properly soundproofed, and as I went step by step with the soundproofing, there was a gigantic leap in the quality of bass as it happened. And if you are wondering about my voice of Lancelot speakers, and I've been talking a lot about infrasound, like ultra low frequency material being played with them, that's an absolute requirement to have a proper room. If you don't have a proper room, I don't care what's happening, you will not have infrasound experience, because the energy is just going to dissipate away, and the speakers are not designed to EQ the sound, to do extras, to overcome shortcomings of bad, poor rooms. They are designed to work in proper rooms. So that's why if you are thinking of building them or experiencing them, you need to think that your room comes first, that these speakers are not for the beginners, they are not for intermediate audiophiles, but they are for those who are the ultra hardcore, who have tried everything in astronaut terms, have gone to the moon, have lived on the International Space Station, and they want more. And that's when they will be able to utilize them properly and set them up the way to give the experience what they are looking for. And if you are not at that experience level, then my recommendation is do not start building these, because they will frustrate you. I just quoting Lou's experience, who is such an audiophile that he has basically lived on the moon, that level of hardcore audiophile in astronaut terms. And one of his first experiences was listening to Altec voice of the theater speakers on solid state amplifiers, which were woefully inadequate for them, but that was not so obvious because they were regarded very highly by the audio community, but they were not nearly enough to drive speakers of that level, and that created such a traumatic experience for him that he never looked back on that path of having horns and ultra efficient speakers, and he chose open baffles. And there's nothing wrong with open baffles. I absolutely love open baffles, and I support everyone who tries them out, goes that way. They are another way to achieve your dreams. And so where was I? Just going blah 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 blah. But anyway, going back to my room. So I have covered the walls, and that having proper soundproofing is the foundation and absolute essential to have quality deep bass. If you can have high levels of deep bass in poorly insulated, poorly prepared rooms, that is quite possible, and that's what we hear in 99% of the cases. But guys and girls, I can really talk from experience that deep bass in a room that supports it is a cathartic experience, and it's very different from that overblown, out of control, problematic deep bass. And that's why people have so much problem with bass in their rooms, because they are not supporting bass, and they're trying to pump that energy into the room that just escaping left and right, and creates all kinds of pressure fluctuations and problems, and you can never set it right. Even when you seemingly set it right, it just doesn't sound natural. It's just a poor experience. And if you are experiencing that, then your answer is not improving your EQ, or not getting a different sub or a swarm of subs, but fixing your room. I think Machi had enough. No, Machi, no worries. You don't have to fix your room. I already did that for you. No, anyway. So now we are catless at the moment, and so I think I have talked enough about the walls. Now I have to mention the floors, because for a successful room you need to have all surfaces down. And my floor here, if you look at it, first of all you will notice that there's a big carpet here, and then if you look under the carpet, that is maple floor. That's a laminate maple floor, and this is actually a sprung dance floor. So it is a very high quality floor, and this is the kind of flooring that I put down in the entire house, because we dance with Nelly, and I just can just pull up the rug, and we can transform this into a dance floor. And well, we haven't really done that many times yet, because upstairs room is also a dance floor, and we just use that for dancing most of the time. So, but why am I mentioning that? Because under this wood floor, there is a concrete base. So the foundation is concrete, and we are on the ground floor. So there is the dirt and rock under it. And if you just have a floor that is concrete, or you have tiles on it, that is like creates hard reflections. And the first thing you can do there is just throw a rug on it to prevent those nasty hard reflections. But if you want to really make it sound more welcoming, natural, and humane, then I really recommend adding a nice wooden floor under your speakers. That really transforms the experience. And also on the ceiling we had that nasty popcorn ceiling that's just so ubiquitous here in the US. Most of it usually comes with asbestos in it, and it's just nasty AF. And not just for your health, but not just visually. I just hate even the sight of it. But sonic sound wise is just I think it's a big no-no, because it has those it's really the nature of it is sound absorbing, so it absorbs the high frequencies. So if your room sounds dull and pale and no highs in it in the United States, then in 90% of the cases the problem is the popcorn ceiling. It's killing all the highs, and that's why people go for tweeters that have excessive high frequency energy, because then that compensates for it. But compensating is not the right thing, because there's two components to the sound. One is the first wave that's coming to you from the loudspeaker. That's the direct radiated sound that hits you. And then there are the reflections that are coming from the walls and bouncing back to you. So that's the follow-up that has some delay and reaches your ears. And when we are using EQ for the systems, and we are using your equipment's internal EQ to compensate for the shortcomings of the room, like popcorn ceiling or bad floor, then what we are doing, we are skewing the balance between the first wave and the radiated waves, radiated sound from the room. And when you are skewing that, the brain notices it. And when you are a proponent of using EQ to correct your room, then that's a flawed concept, because you cannot correct the room. What the EQing does, whether graphic equalizer or DSP, it equalizes the overall energy level of the sound, the combined energy of the reflections and the direct radiated energy is level, but within that both the direct radiated energy is off scatter and also the reflected sound, the reverb from your room, that's also off scatter, and that's why the ear will not register it as natural music, natural sound. You will feel that it has the right amount of energy, it will have the right amount of impact. So yes, EQing the sound will give you the impact. So if you are looking for impact, you will be fine. But if you're looking for tone, tonality, naturalness, it's all bets are off. And the ear is particularly sensitive for the ratio of reverb versus first wave. So that's why you need to fix your room so you do not have these issues coming up which cannot be corrected. We can only correct at the total energy level, but in the time scale and the first radiated sound versus reverb, it cannot be corrected only through fixing your room. So I think that was a little bit long-winded, but it had to be. I hope that was some advice for everyone on how to think about your room, and if you are happy with your system, then how much your room has contributed to it, or if you are unhappy, maybe it's the room that has to be taken to the next level. And often improvements on the room require less money than buying let's say a $50,000 deck. You can spend a fraction of that on your room and the difference will be night and day compared to upgrading your, let's say, $5,000 deck to a $50,000 deck. So thank you for tuning in. Please like, subscribe, have an amazing day. This was János with Real World Audio. Bye bye.